Welcome to WealthRise Stories, where clarity meets knowledge, and knowledge becomes financial power.
Hello there to all of you I like to call the architects of trust. The ones who work tirelessly day and night to build that bridge between products, services, and the people they're meant to serve. The ones who quietly bring value into every corner of life. Or simply anyone among us who's on the journey of seeking meaning and stability in our careers and our lives. Have you ever stopped for a moment, taken a deep breath, and asked yourself, is there a source of wisdom out there? A treasure chest of experience forged through decades, not just about closing sales at lightning speed, but about building a sales career anchored in ethics and purpose. And if it exists, if you could receive genuine, selfless advice from a seasoned salesman, a true veteran of the craft who poured his entire life into heartfelt letters written for his own son, wouldn't you want to read them? Would you be willing to open your heart and let those words sink in? Reshape not only how you work, but how you live, how you see your own worth, and how you see the people around you. Picture this for a second, not another course with hundreds of PowerPoint slides stuffed with dry formulas. Not another loud, flashy seminar filled with marketing gimmicks and overpolished promises. But a quiet space where you and I can simply sit together. Listen, reflect on each piece of advice, each story told with nothing but sincerity. Something that touches the heart, shakes the soul a little, and helps you discover your own path. Sounds good, doesn't it? And if there's a spark of curiosity inside you right now, if you're craving deeper, more meaningful values, then I believe you're in the right place at exactly the right moment. Because right now, we're about to open the door to one of humanity's truly forgotten treasures, a timeless gem buried beneath the rush of the digital age, the classic book, Letters from an Old Time Salesman to His Son. At first glance, you might imagine some old, outdated manual meant only for salesmen from a bygone era. But that's the magic of it. Behind that simple, almost rustic appearance is a depth of philosophy, an eternal truth about human nature, and the art of service that time can never fade. This isn't just a book. It's a spiritual legacy, a refreshing spring of life lessons, professional ethics, and integrity that has been tested across generations. It doesn't just teach you how to close deals. It teaches you how to become a person of integrity, trustworthy, respectable, and successful in a way that is honorable and deeply human. In each letter, the father, a master salesman with decades of hard-earned experience, doesn't just hand his son clever tricks to land a contract. No, he goes far deeper. He teaches boundless patience, the kind you can't buy, a self-respect that cannot be traded, and a way of treating customers as lifelong partners and trusted friends, not targets on a sales chart. He talks about honesty as a compass, about keeping your word as if it were your life, about the value of a reputation built slowly, steadily through every transparent transaction, every sincere conversation. These are lessons no amount of money can buy, yet they form the most solid foundation for any long-term success. Right now, you might be wondering, I'm not a professional salesperson. Does this book really relate to me? Or I've read plenty of sales books already. Is there anything new here for me? And that's exactly where the treasure lies, in the brightest gem I want you to see. Even though the title speaks of a salesman, this book goes far beyond the borders of traditional sales training. It's a book about life itself, about how we sell ourselves to the world, sell our ideas to colleagues, sell our value to partners, sell our vision to investors, and perhaps most importantly, how we sell our dreams and beliefs to ourselves and the people we love, so we can rise together through every challenge. It doesn't just stop at helping you boost numbers on a report. It teaches you how to build a meaningful career, a life worth waking up for, not because of sales pressure, but because of passion, pride, and a clear conscience. It's about facing failure, without collapsing, rising stronger after each setback, and holding on to hope even when darkness feels overwhelming. At its core, this is a guide to becoming a complete human being, the master salesperson of your own life, someone who knows how to turn dreams into reality and create lasting value. The principles this old father shares with his son aren't just instructions for salespeople. They're a roadmap for anyone who wants a solid career, an unshakable reputation, and genuine happiness from the inside out. Because in the end, whether you're an engineer, a doctor, a teacher, or an entrepreneur, we're all selling something, aren't we? Selling professionalism, selling knowledge, selling trust, selling vision. And selling at its core is simply the act of creating value and building relationships. In this video series, I won't just be a reader. There won't be dry reviews or dull summaries you can find anywhere else. No, I want us to travel through every letter, every piece of advice, not just with analytical minds, but with open hearts and your own lived experiences. Think of this as a true human-centered audiobook experience, where every line is something we reflect on together from the perspective of someone who has also walked the path of building a career, facing challenges, and searching for meaning. I'll share honest thoughts, real stories I've witnessed or lived myself, and the ways these timeless philosophies have shaped not just my work, but the way I see the world and live my life. Each letter is more than a page. It's a story, a precious lesson, a moment for us to pause, breathe, reflect, and find connection. We won't just be listening to a book. We'll be having a conversation with a wise old friend, an invisible mentor full of warmth and wisdom, eager to share every secret of living, not just a materially successful life, but a spiritually and emotionally rich one. And I believe that after we journey through letters from an old-time salesman to his son, in this way, you won't just walk away with stronger sales skills. You'll gain a richer, deeper understanding of integrity, trust, perseverance, and the true meaning of lasting success. This will be an awakening, a wellspring of inspiration that helps you walk your path with more confidence, more clarity, and more joy. So why wait any longer? Don't miss this. Let's open the very first letter together and begin this journey into a priceless treasure. Let timeless wisdom from the past illuminate your path toward extraordinary success in the future. Are you ready? Let's begin. And remember, sometimes the greatest lessons hide in the simplest things. Hello there, and welcome back to our channel. Today, I have a small gift for you. No, not a simple physical gift. This one is a real treasure, a genuine gem that I believe you'll want to explore with me. It doesn't sparkle like diamonds. It doesn't scream for attention like the latest social media trends, but its value, I promise you, far surpasses all of that combined. The book I want us to dive into today carries a name that sounds old-fashioned, humble, almost nostalgic. Letters from an Old-Time Salesman to his son. Its author is Roy W. H. Smith. You may have never heard his name before, and honestly, he wasn't a famous novelist or a big-time marketing guru or a sought-after motivational speaker of his day. He was simply a father. A father with experience, a father with heart, a father who had so much to say to his son, a young man preparing to embark on a business journey, or in a broader sense, on the journey of life. These letters were written in the early 1900s, an era when life moved at a much slower pace. No internet, no email, no social media. Communication carried real weight, and handwritten letters, ink on paper, traveling long distances often held an entire universe of thoughts, worries, and wisdom. That old father, Roy W. H. Smith, poured his soul into these letters, distilling years of hard lessons from both the marketplace and life itself into every sentence he wrote. Not just advice on sales techniques, though that was his original intent, but deeper lessons on ethics, kindness, human decency, self-respect, and how to find meaning in both work and life. I remember the first time I held this book in my hands. At that moment, I was standing at my own crossroads, not necessarily starting a sales career like the son in the book, but facing a major turning point in my work, in how I defined my values, and in what I believed my purpose should be. I didn't read it looking for business tricks. I read it with a deeper longing, a longing for connection, a longing for guidance from someone older, wiser, and calm enough to cut through the noise and see things as they truly are. And the book did not disappoint. It felt like a father or a long-lost teacher suddenly sat down beside me, rested a hand on my shoulder, and began to tell stories. Mr. Smith's voice through the pages was never preachy or dry. It was warm, familiar sometimes, even humorous, and always full of understanding. He didn't just talk about how to sell. He talked about how to become someone trustworthy, someone genuine, someone of value. He reminded all of us, that behind every transaction, behind every meeting, behind every handshake, there isn't money or a contract. There is a human being with hopes, fears, and dreams of their own. And that right there is why this book hit me so deeply, and why I believe it will touch you too. In a world racing toward digital, everything optimized for speed and efficiency, we often forget the simple things: a real conversation, eye contact, true listening. We forget that no matter how advanced technology becomes, the core of every interaction, whether in business or in life, is still the human-to-human connection. This book, for me, is a gentle yet powerful reminder of those timeless truths. It made me rethink how I work, how I communicate, and most importantly, how I treat the people around me. It's not just a compass for a salesperson, but for anyone who wants to live a meaningful, ethical, and genuine life. So this video, don't think of it as a simple book review. Don't think of it as a lecture or a to-do list for success. Instead, I want you to see it as an intimate conversation, a reflective journey we're about to take together. Think of it as a chance to pause the noise of modern life, sit in a quiet corner, and listen to a voice from the past, a voice full of wisdom and love. We're not just going to read these letters in order. We're going to peel back each layer, uncover the profound human lessons behind every interaction, every deal, every decision. We'll reflect on these timeless pieces of advice and explore what they mean in our lives today with all the challenges and opportunities of the modern world. And now I want you to do one thing. Close your eyes for a moment, or simply let your mind relax. Imagine you are the son of Roy W.H. Smith. You're standing at the threshold of a brand new world filled with uncertainty, a little fear, but also excitement. And then a letter arrives. An old envelope, maybe a little wrinkled from its journey, but carefully sealed with your father's familiar handwriting on the front. Open that envelope with me. Take a deep breath, inhale the faint scent of old paper and faded ink. And listen. Listen as if you are the one receiving these heartfelt messages, these sacred reminders from a father who spent his entire life learning and reflecting. Because in many ways, all of us are that son. All of us long to be guided, to be understood, to be shown the way as we walk our own path. So come with me. Let's turn each page together, reading each line soaked with love and life experience. Let these letters be our compass, our companion in the episodes ahead. Are you ready? And we'll begin with Chapter 1, a chapter that I believe isn't just the foundation for any business career, but the pillar of every kind of lasting success in life. The foundation of all success. Integrity. Why do I put integrity first? Because just like a house, no matter how impressive the design is or how expensive the materials are, if the foundation isn't solid, it will collapse sooner or later. Integrity is that very first, most important brick in building a career and a life that actually means something and can truly endure. 1. Your greatest asset is your name and your reputation. In one of his first letters, the old father wrote to his son a sentence that I believe should be carved into the mind of every person. My boy, your greatest asset is not your money, not what you own, and not even what you earn. Your greatest asset is your name and your reputation. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But think a little deeper. Money can come and go. Stuff can be lost. But your name and your reputation, that's your shadow. It's the image you leave in people's minds after every interaction. It's the sum of every promise you kept, every action you took, every attitude you showed. Picture it like this. When you're known for being honest, for keeping your word, for consistently putting your customer's best interest first, what happens? People trust you. They come to you when they want real advice, when they need a reliable solution. They'll even be willing to pay a little more just to work with you because they know you're not going to exploit them or let them down. On the other hand, if you're known as someone who overpromises, cuts corners, or only cares about your own gain, then no matter how good your product is or how talented you are, people will stay guarded and skeptical. And once trust is broken, it's incredibly hard to win back. The old father wanted his son to understand that a good reputation is something you can't buy with money. It has to be built slowly, patiently, through consistent integrity over time. It's an invisible asset, but it has the power to create countless visible ones. 2. Building and maintaining long-term trust with your customers. So how do you build this invisible but priceless asset, especially in your relationships with customers? You do it through integrity in every single transaction, big or small. It shows up in the way you tell the truth about your product or service, what's great about it, and what isn't. Don't sugarcoat reality. Don't hide minor flaws. Customers today are smart, and they will appreciate your honesty far more than a polished but misleading sales pitch. It shows up in the way you keep your promises. If you say you'll call back at 3 p.m., call back at 3 p.m. If you promise delivery in 3 days, make sure it arrives in 3 days or sooner. If anything goes wrong, be proactive. Let the customer know and offer a solution. Don't leave them hanging, wondering what's going on. And most importantly, it shows up in your willingness to admit when you're wrong. No one is perfect. Mistakes are inevitable. But how you respond to those mistakes is what determines whether your customer's trust grows or dies. Own your error. Apologize sincerely. Do everything reasonably possible to make it right. A customer can forgive a mistake. What they won't forgive is dishonesty or denial. Trust is like a great old oak tree. It takes a long time to take root and grow strong, but it can be knocked down by a single storm. Every act of integrity is a drop of water that nourishes that tree, helping the relationship grow stronger. Every breach of trust, on the other hand, is like a swing of an axe slowly cutting through its trunk. In sales, the goal isn't just to sell one product. The real goal is to sell hundreds of products to the same customer over the course of a lifetime. And to do that, trust is the key. 3. The modern business landscape. Why transparency is a matter of survival. In today's business world, with the explosion of the internet, social media, and review platforms, integrity and transparency aren't just nice to have. They are matters of survival. The internet is a double-edged sword. On one side, it allows you to reach potential customers all over the world. On the other, it can turn every transaction, every lie, every slip-up into a public record that spreads like wildfire in minutes. One complaint, one angry review on Google, Facebook, Yelp, or a community forum can quickly damage the reputation you spent years trying to build. Customers today are more informed than ever. They don't just listen to your ads, they read hundreds of reviews from other people. They compare prices, quality, and customer service with just a few clicks. They're not easily fooled by hollow promises. What they are looking for is authenticity, a brand they can trust. That's why transparency is no longer just a moral virtue. It's a critical business strategy. Transparency about your product, transparency about your process, transparency about your pricing, transparency about your after-sales commitments. An individual or a company might achieve flashy, short-term success with tricks and games, but they will not survive in the long run without integrity. The most beloved, enduring brands in the world aren't the ones that are perfect. They're the ones that are transparent, the ones willing to admit their mistakes, learn from them, and improve based on customer feedback. They understand that in the information age, trust is the new currency. 4. A story illustration. The cost of sacrificing integrity for a small gain. To make this even clearer, let me tell you a story about what happens when someone sacrifices integrity for a tiny short-term benefit. There was a young salesman named Ethan, energetic, charismatic, and great with people. He worked for a company in the U.S. that supplied building materials. One day, he got a call from Mr. Harris, a long-term customer, kind, loyal, and always trusting Ethan. Mr. Harris wanted to buy a batch of pavers to redo the small patio in his backyard. Ethan knew his company's pavers were very good. But for Mr. Harris's specific situation, a small area, no heavy commercial use, and a limited budget, there was a competitor's product that was almost 30% cheaper and still perfectly adequate for what he needed. On top of that, Ethan knew that this competitor's product was on sale that weekend. In that moment, Ethan stood between two choices. First option, tell Mr. Harris the truth, recommend the option that best fit his needs and budget, even though that meant Ethan would miss out on a commission of about $40 on the sale. Second option, push Mr. Harris to buy his company's more expensive product, even though he knew it wasn't the best fit for the situation. He thought to himself, Mr. Harris trusts me. If I just say ours is a little better, he'll probably never know. For the sake of that small commission, Ethan chose not to be fully honest. He didn't outright lie, but he intentionally left out the fact that there was a cheaper, perfectly suitable alternative. Instead, he emphasized the strengths of his own company's product advantages that in Mr. Harris's case, he didn't really need. Trusting Ethan, Mr. Harris placed the order. A few weeks later, while working on the patio, Mr. Harris got to chatting with a neighbor. That neighbor had just finished his own patio and had bought the more suitable pavers, the ones Ethan knew about, at a significantly lower price from that competing supplier. That's when Mr. Harris realized he'd been overcharged, not because the product was bad, but because the person he trusted hadn't been fully honest. Feeling betrayed, Mr. Harris never bought from Ethan again. Not only that, he shared the story with his friends, his golf buddies, and people in his retirement group. Over time, other potential customers in the community heard about it and began to be cautious or took their business elsewhere. All for what? For less than $50 in commission, Ethan had traded away something priceless, the trust of a loyal customer, and beyond that, his reputation in an entire community. Losing trust doesn't just mean losing one order. It means losing the chance to receive dozens, maybe hundreds of future orders. Because of a single lapse in integrity, Ethan's career took a serious hit. So that's the point. Integrity is not optional. It's a non-negotiable requirement for building anything that's truly valuable and lasting. It's the first brick, the one you cannot leave out in the foundation of every success. Always remember the old father's words, your greatest asset is your name and your reputation. Build it with honesty, transparency, and reliability, because once you have that trust, doors will begin to open. I know it's easy to say, hard to live. There will be moments when you're tempted by quick wins and short-term gains. But every day ask yourself, what did I do today to strengthen my reputation? Am I living and working with unwavering integrity. In the next chapter, we'll dig into another theme that's just as crucial in the father's letters: vision and preparation. The art of seeing ahead. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the valuable lessons coming next. I'll see you in the next video. Great. Let's dive deep into Letters from an Old Time Salesman to His Son, especially. Chapter 2. A chapter that, in my opinion, will completely change the way we look at selling, and honestly, the way we interact with people in general. Ready? Let's get started. Welcome back to my channel, where we explore timeless philosophies of life and work from classic books. And today, we continue our journey with Letters from an Old Time Salesman to His Son. In Chapter 1, we establish the foundation of what it means to be a true salesperson: integrity, passion, and a strong belief in the value you bring. But in Chapter 2, the old father's letter to his son opens a completely different door, deeper, broader, and perhaps more challenging. The title of this chapter is absolutely priceless. Chapter 2. Understand people before you understand the product. It sounds simple, right? Who doesn't know they're supposed to understand their customers? But let's be honest, how many of us actually do that at the deepest level? The old father wrote, "My boy, you cannot sell to someone you do not understand." This isn't just advice. It's a golden rule. We're often taught to know our product inside and out. Feature A, benefit B, technology C. Yes, that's necessary. But it's only half of the equation. The other half, and arguably the more important half, is understanding the person who will be using that product. Imagine this. You're trying to sell a car. Most salespeople jump straight into talking about horsepower, luxury interior, top-tier safety tech. All of that is fine. But is that really what the customer cares about most? The father advises his son, put yourself in the customer's position and see the problem through their eyes. A classic line, but applying it is far from easy. It requires you to set aside your ego, your assumptions, and even your expertise about your own product. If you step into the shoes of the car buyer, what do you see? Maybe he's a dad who wants absolute safety while driving his kids to school. Maybe she's a businesswoman who wants a car that reflects status and success. Or maybe the customer just needs something reliable, so they're not stressing about breakdowns or running late. Each person sees the world differently. Each person has a different story. So how do you truly put yourself in the customer's position? That's where one of the most important skills comes in: active listening and asking thoughtful, open-ended questions. Active listening is not just being quiet while the other person talks. It's focusing your mind, your body language, and your emotions on absorbing what they're really saying, and often what they're not saying. It's noticing their eyes, their pauses, their hesitations, their body cues that reveal more than words ever could. And when you listen, ask questions not to confirm what you want to hear, but to discover what you don't yet know. Instead of asking, "Do you like good fuel economy?" try, "What concerns you most about your monthly driving costs with your current car?" instead of, "Do you need a spacious vehicle?" Ask, when you picture your weekend trips with your family, what kind of space or comfort do you imagine your car providing? Open-ended questions let you go beneath the surface. We're not just learning what they want, we're uncovering why they want it and what truly matters to them. This is the key to unlocking their deeper needs, unspoken worries, and hidden desires, the ones even they themselves may not have fully articulated. And here's a truth the old father wanted his son to etch into his soul, a truth about the psychology behind buying decisions. Emotion matters more than logic. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? We think of ourselves as rational beings who weigh pros and cons before making choices. But the reality, most buying decisions, big or small, are driven by emotion first. Logic only comes later as the justification. Take buying a new smartphone, for example. You might say you bought it for its speed, its camera, or its battery life. Those are the logical reasons. But deep down, maybe you bought it because you wanted that feeling of confidence with the latest tech. Or because you wanted to stay connected with friends who use the same brand. Or because you wanted a sense of leveling up. Or simply for the joy of owning something new. Those feelings are the real motivators. A great salesperson understands these emotional strings. They don't just sell features. They sell safety, confidence, convenience, joy, peace of mind, even love for one's family. They sell solutions to human problems, not just a bundle of technical specs. Imagine you're selling business management software. If you only talk about modules, databases, and interfaces, you're selling features. But if you talk about how the system reduces stress because there's no more worrying about losses, how it frees up employees so they can spend more time with their families, how it helps the company grow in a more stable, predictable way, you're selling a deeply human solution. You're selling peace, happiness, and success. And here's the core message of Chapter 2. The Father's message, and the lesson I want you to take with you after this video, is this: sell solutions to human problems, not just features of a product. When we shift our focus from selling to helping, when we practice deep empathy, sincere listening, and truly exploring the customer's unspoken needs, we stop being just salespeople. We become partners, trusted advisors, problem solvers. And at that point, selling is no longer a transaction. It becomes a meaningful connection, a shared path where both sides gain real value. This is a powerful shift in mindset, and I believe it will open new doors for you, not only in your work, but in your relationships as well. Thank you for joining me in this meaningful Chapter 2. Take some time to reflect on what we've discussed. Next time, we'll continue peeling back the remaining letters, uncovering more valuable lessons about trust, perseverance, and the spirit of service. Welcome back to our YouTube channel, where we explore timeless lessons from the book Letters from an Old Time Salesman to His Son. If in Chapter 1 we talked about the importance of understanding the customer, and Chapter 2 was about building trust, then today, we're going to dive into an area that every one of us, no matter what we do for a living, will have to face: rejection and failure. The title of this chapter, inspired by a letter rich with the old father's experience, is Chapter 3, The Power of Persistence. No is only the beginning. Our goal today is to build a resilient mindset so that when we face rejection, we no longer see it as a period at the end of the sentence, but as an essential part of the process, a stepping stone on the path to success. Think about it for a second. How many times have you heard the word, no, I'm not interested. No, your product is too expensive. No, now's not a good time. You know that feeling, right? A little punch to your ego, a quiet wave of disappointment creeping in. I know that feeling all too well. Back then, every rejection felt like an arrow straight to the heart, making me question my own ability. But through these pages, through the old father's advice, I learned to see rejection in a completely different light. In one of his letters, full of hard-earned wisdom, the father gives his son a priceless piece of advice. He writes, "My boy, every rejection is not a personal attack on your worth, but a valuable piece of data." It sounds simple, but think a bit deeper. Data for what? For you to realize that this particular approach at that particular time, or maybe even that particular product, wasn't the right fit for this person. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means you need to adjust your strategy. Imagine you're a scientist testing a new formula. When the experiment fails the first time, do you quit? Or do you analyze why it failed, tweak the ingredients, and try again? Every failure is a data point that brings you closer to the successful formula. Or think of yourself as a market researcher. Each no is simply a response that helps you better understand your target audience and their real needs. It's not a personal verdict on who you are. It's just information. When you shift your mindset from "I failed to" "I just collected a new piece of data," the pressure lifts. You no longer feel wounded. Instead, you feel curious, motivated to analyze and improve. This is the very first brick in building mental toughness in the face of rejection. Of course, it's easier said than done. Even after hearing no, that wave of discouragement can still hit you. So how do we maintain motivation and optimism? After those emotional hits, I have a few strategies I've personally used and found very effective. 1. Allow yourself to feel it, but don't sink into it. Feeling disappointed is completely natural. Don't suppress it. Let yourself be sad for a bit, frustrated for a bit, but only for a bit. Put a time limit on it, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Then take a deep breath and tell yourself, okay, that's done. Now it's time to analyze. 2. Separate your identity from your work. Keep reminding yourself that the rejection is not aimed at you as a human being. It's simply a business response, a mismatch between your product service and the customer's needs at that particular moment. Your worth as a person has not gone down. 3. Small actions, big wins. After a big no, find a small win to restore your energy. It could be checking off an easy task on your to-do list, calling a loyal customer you know will respond positively, or simply treating yourself to a good cup of coffee. These small wins help recharge your positive energy. 4. Analyze the data right away. Instead of ignoring it and trying to forget, sit down and write it out. What happened? What did I say? How did they react? Were there any signs I missed? Were there questions I should have asked? From there, you'll have specific lessons you can apply next time. 5. Change your environment and seek positive energy. Sometimes just standing up, taking a short walk, listening to your favorite song, or talking to an optimistic coworker can completely shift your mood. Surround yourself with people who believe in you and in your goals. However, persistence does not mean being blind. There's a very thin line between smart persistence and stubborn annoyance. And we have to learn how to clearly distinguish between the two. Smart persistence is when you stay committed to your goal, but are willing to change your methods, learn from feedback, and adapt to the situation. You listen to customers, analyze the market, and experiment with new approaches. You're not afraid to admit that a particular strategy isn't working. And you're flexible enough to shift gears while still holding firmly to the core value of your product or service. That is persistence with strategy and thought. By contrast, stubborn annoyance is when you keep trying to force a square peg into a round hole. You ignore obvious signals, you don't listen to your customers, and you keep repeating the same ineffective approach just because you believe, if I keep pushing, it'll eventually work, or because you don't want to admit you were wrong. This doesn't just waste your time and energy, it can damage your relationships and your reputation. Customers will feel bothered, pressured, and that's the exact opposite of what we want. So how do you tell the difference? Ask yourself, am I actually learning and changing? Is the feedback I'm getting pointing me toward a different direction? Am I truly listening? If the answer is no to those questions, there's a good chance you're just being stubborn in a way that doesn't serve you. Smart persistence requires clarity and self-awareness. It's the combination of strong will and flexible thinking. To close out this chapter, I want to share a truly inspiring story. A living example of the power of smart persistence. The story of a man who endured hundreds of rejections to build a global empire. I'm talking about Colonel Harlan Sanders, the founder of KFC, at an age when most people are thinking about retirement at 65. Colonel Sanders started a brand new journey. With his unique fried chicken recipe, he began traveling from one restaurant to another, trying to convince owners to license his recipe. Do you know how many times he was turned down? There are many versions of the story out there, but the most commonly cited number is that he heard no over 1,000 times before the first restaurant finally agreed to partner with him. Just imagine that for a second. More than 1,000 no's. Each rejection could have been a door slammed in his face, a headshake, a dismissive smile. Most people would have quit after 10 tries, maybe a few dozen at best. But Colonel Sanders didn't. He didn't treat every rejection as proof that he was a failure. He treated every no as data, something he could use to refine his pitch, target the right people, and improve the way he presented his idea. He was persistent, but not blindly stubborn. He didn't keep trying to sell his recipe to people who clearly weren't interested or weren't a fit. He listened to the reasons behind the rejections when people offered them. He adjusted where he traveled, looked for new markets, and sought out more open-minded partners. He never gave up on his belief in the unique flavor of his fried chicken, but he stayed flexible in how he brought it to the world. And the rest, as we know, is history. From an older man with a single chicken recipe, Colonel Sanders built one of the largest fast food chains in the world, powered by the extraordinary strength of smart persistence. So that's it, my friends. The power of persistence doesn't lie in never falling down. It lies in how many times you're willing to get back up after each fall. Remember, rejection is data, not a personal attack. There are concrete strategies you can use to bounce back after each no. And most importantly, be persistently smart, not stubbornly pushy. Learn from the old father in the book, from the legendary Colonel Sanders, and from your own experiences. Every no is not the end of the story. It's just a comma, a pause on the way to that big, life-changing yes. Have you ever overcome a memorable rejection? What strategies did you use to keep your motivation alive? Share your stories and insights in the comments below. I'd really love to read them and learn from you. Welcome back to our YouTube channel, where we explore timeless lessons from the book Letters from an Old Time Salesman to His Son. If in Chapter 1, we explored the importance of understanding the customer, and in Chapter 2, we talked about building trust, then today, we're going to dive into something every one of us, no matter what we do for a living, has to face: rejection and failure. The title of this chapter, inspired by a letter soaked in the old father's experience, is Chapter 3, The Power of Persistence. No is only the beginning. Our goal today is to build a resilient mindset so that when we face rejection, we don't see it as the end of the story, but as an essential part of the process, a stepping stone on the path to success. Think about it for a second. How many times have you heard the word, no, I'm not interested. No, your product is too expensive. No, this just isn't the right time. You know that feeling, don't you? A little punch to your self-esteem, a quiet wave of disappointment creeping in. I understand that feeling more than anyone. Back then, every rejection felt like an arrow straight to my heart, making me doubt my own ability. But through these pages, through the old father's advice, I learned to see rejection in a completely different way. In one of his deeply experienced letters, the father gives his son a powerful piece of advice. He says, "My boy, every rejection is not a personal attack on your worth. It is a valuable piece of data." It sounds simple, but think a bit deeper. Data for what? For you to realize that this particular approach at that particular time, or maybe even that particular product, wasn't the right fit for this person. It doesn't say you're not good enough. It simply says you need to change your strategy. Imagine you're a scientist testing a new formula. The first time the experiment fails, do you quit? Or do you analyze why it failed, adjust the ingredients, and try again? Every failure is a data point that brings you closer to the successful formula. Or picture yourself as a market researcher. Each no is just information that helps you better understand your target audience and their real needs. It's not a personal judgment about you. It's just information. When you shift your thinking from "I failed" to "I just collected a new piece of data," the pressure lifts. You no longer feel wounded. Instead, you feel curious, motivated to analyze and improve. That's the very first brick in building mental toughness in the face of rejection. Of course, saying it is easier than living it. After hearing no, that heavy feeling can still hit you. So how do we stay motivated and optimistic after those emotional blows? I have a few strategies I've personally used and found very effective. Let yourself feel it, but don't sink into it. Feeling disappointed is completely natural. Don't suppress it. Allow yourself to be sad for a bit, to feel that sting for a moment. But just for a moment. Put a time limit on it. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Then take a deep breath and tell yourself, okay, that's done. Now it's time to analyze. Separate who you are from what you do. Keep reminding yourself that the rejection is not aimed at you as a human being. It's simply a business response, a mismatch between your product service and the customer's needs at that moment in time. Your value as a person has not dropped. Small actions, big wins. After a big no, look for a small win to reset your mindset. It could be finishing an easy task on your to-do list, calling an old customer you know will respond positively, or simply treating yourself to a really good cup of coffee. These small wins help recharge your positive energy. Analyze the data right away. Instead of brushing it off and trying to forget, sit down and write it out. What happened? What did I say? How did they react? Were there any signals I missed? Were there questions I should have asked? From there, you'll have specific lessons you can use next time. Change your environment and seek positive energy. Sometimes just standing up, taking a short walk, listening to your favorite music, or talking to an optimistic coworker can completely shift your mood. Surround yourself with people who believe in you and in your goals. However, persistence doesn't mean blindness. There's a very thin line between smart persistence and annoying stubbornness, and we need to learn how to clearly tell the difference. Smart persistence is when you stay committed to your goal, but are willing to change your methods, learn from feedback, and adapt to the situation. You listen to customers, you analyze the market, you experiment with new approaches. You're not afraid to admit that a certain strategy isn't working, and you're flexible enough to move to another strategy while still holding firmly to the core value of your product or service. That's persistence with strategy. Persistence with thought. By contrast, annoying stubbornness is when you keep trying to jam a square peg into a round hole. You ignore the obvious signs, you don't listen to your customers, and you keep repeating the same ineffective approach simply because you believe, if I just keep trying, it'll work, or because you don't want to admit you were wrong. This doesn't just waste your time and energy, it can also damage your relationships and your reputation. Customers will feel bothered, pressured, even pushed. And that is the opposite of what we want. So how do you tell which one you're practicing? Ask yourself, am I actually learning and changing? Is the feedback I'm getting telling me I should go in a different direction? Am I really listening? If the answer to those questions is no, there's a good chance you're just being stubborn in a way that doesn't serve you. Smart persistence requires clarity and honest self-evaluation. It's the combination of a strong will and flexible thinking. To close out this chapter, I want to share an inspiring story, a living example of the power of smart persistence. A man who pushed through hundreds of rejections to build a global empire. I'm talking about Colonel Harlan Sanders, the founder of KFC. At an age when most people are thinking about retiring at around 65, Colonel Sanders started a brand new chapter. Armed with his unique fried chicken recipe, he went from restaurant to restaurant trying to convince owners to let him license it. Do you know how many times he was turned down? There are plenty of versions of the story, but the most commonly cited number is that he heard no over 1,000 times before the first restaurant finally agreed to partner with him. Just imagine that. More than 1,000 no's. Every rejection could have been a door slammed in his face, a shake of the head, a half-hearted smile. Most people would have quit after 10 tries, maybe a few dozen at most. But Colonel Sanders didn't. He didn't treat each rejection as proof that he was a failure. He treated each no as data, something he could use to refine his pitch, find the right audience, and sharpen the way he presented his offer. He was persistent, but not blindly stubborn. He didn't keep trying to sell his recipe to people who clearly weren't interested or weren't a fit. He listened to the reasons for rejection when people gave them. He adjusted where he traveled, sought out new markets, and looked for partners with a more open mindset. He never gave up on his belief in the unique taste of his fried chicken, but he was very flexible in how he brought it to market. And the rest, as we all know, is history. From an older man with a single fried chicken recipe, Colonel Sanders built one of the largest fast food chains in the world, powered by the extraordinary strength of smart persistence. So that's it, my friends. The power of persistence isn't about never falling down. It's about how many times you're willing to get back up after each fall. Always remember, rejection is just data, not a personal attack. There are concrete strategies you can use to lift yourself back up after every no. And most importantly, be persistently smart, not stubbornly exhausting. Learn from the old father in the book, from the legendary Colonel Sanders, and from your own experience. Every no is not a period, it's just a comma, a small pause on the way to that big, life-changing yes. Have you ever overcome a memorable rejection? What strategies did you use to keep your motivation going? Share your stories and experiences in the comments below. I'd really love to read them and learn from you. Welcome back to the series, Letters from an Old Time Salesman to His Son. If in the previous chapters we dug deep into mindset and ethics in business, then today we're opening another letter from the old salesman. A letter about managing the most precious asset every single one of us owns, equally regardless of wealth or status time. Allow me to introduce Chapter 4. Managing your most valuable asset time. The goal of this chapter isn't just to offer simple planning tips. It's a deeper lesson in self-discipline, organization, and above all, the importance of respecting your own time and the time of others. Let's dive into the wisdom inside this letter. 1. Plan your workday the night before your North Star for tomorrow. Have you ever woken up feeling completely unclear about where to start? The old salesman understood this feeling well. He emphasized that planning the next day the night before isn't just a good habit. It's a key strategy for success. Imagine you're steering a boat into open waters. Without a compass or a map, where would you end up? You'd drift aimlessly. Your workday is the same. When you spend 15 to 20 minutes at the end of each day outlining your most important tasks for tomorrow, you're creating your own North Star. Why does this matter so much? Eliminates the blank page anxiety. When you know exactly what to do the moment you wake up, you stop wasting energy deciding. That energy can be used to actually work. Puts you back in control. Instead of reacting to whatever comes your way, you shape the day. You're the captain, not the passenger. Cleans up your mind. Writing things down frees your brain from clutter. You'll sleep better and wake up clearer. Forces prioritization. When you plan, you decide what truly matters and what can wait or be delegated. This sets you up perfectly for the principle we're about to explore next. In my own experience, listing just 3 5 must-do tasks for the next day is enough. Not overly detailed, just clear enough to give you direction. Try it tonight. 2. The 80-20 rule in sales. Focus on your gold mine. Long before it was called the Pareto principle, the old salesman lived by it. The rule says 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. In sales, this usually means 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your best clients, or 80% of your success comes from the few activities that create the most impact. So what can we learn from this? Identify your high-leverage activities. Don't spread yourself thin. Spend time calling high-value prospects, meeting key partners face-to-face, or researching a profitable niche. Learn to say no. Once you know where your true 20% is, you must say no to the 80% of tasks that steal your time but give little return. Saying no to the insignificant is saying yes to the meaningful. Optimize, don't overwork. Productivity isn't doing more, it's doing the right things well. Ask yourself, if I only had 2 hours today, what would I do to create the biggest impact? Your answer is your true 20%. 3. The importance of punctuality and thorough preparation for every meeting. This is advice the old salesman probably repeated 1,000 times because it is the foundation of professionalism and credibility. Punctuality, a sign of respect. Showing up on time silently says, I respect your time. Being late sends the opposite message. Builds trust. If you can't manage your own schedule well enough to be on time, how can someone trust you with bigger commitments? Reduces stress. Arriving a few minutes early gives you time to settle, breathe, and prepare. You enter the meeting confident instead of flustered. Preparation. Research ahead of time. Know who you're meeting, what their company does, and what challenges they might be facing. Set clear objectives. What do you want to achieve from this meeting? A meeting without a clear objective is a wasted opportunity. Have materials ready. Slides, brochures, samples, everything organized and accessible. Anticipate questions. Think ahead about what your counterpart might ask and prepare strong answers. A true professional doesn't leave success up to luck. Punctuality and preparation are ways of saying, I'm committed, I'm reliable, I respect this opportunity. 4. Simple yet powerful strategies to avoid procrastination and boost productivity. We've all been there, knowing exactly what we need to do, yet somehow avoiding it. The old salesman wasn't trying to turn us into machines. He wanted us to build discipline, the kind that allows us to operate effectively and with purpose. Here are some simple but incredibly effective methods. Eat your frog tackle. Your hardest, most unpleasant task, first thing in the morning. When the frog is gone, the whole day feels lighter. Pomodoro technique. Work in focused sprints, e.g. 25 minutes, followed by short breaks, 5 minutes. After 4 rounds, take a longer break. This keeps your mind sharp and prevents burnout. Eliminate distractions. Turn off notifications. Close irrelevant tabs. Create a work environment that supports focus. Batch similar tasks. Instead of switching constantly between unrelated tasks, which drains energy, group similar tasks together. Answer all emails in one block. Make all your calls in another. Rest intentionally. Stand up. Stretch. Hydrate. Don't replace rest with mindless scrolling. That's not rest. That's noise. All of these methods lead back to one core value: self-discipline. It isn't innate. It's trained, strengthened, and built day by day. So from planning your day the night before, applying the 80-20 rule to focus on what truly matters, showing respect through punctuality and preparation, and using simple strategies to fight procrastination, the old salesman has given us a powerful toolbox for managing our most valuable asset, time. His advice isn't just business strategy. It's a guide for living intentionally a life where you control your time instead of letting time control you. Start today. Turn these principles into habits, and you'll be amazed at how much your work and your life can transform. Hello, friends, and welcome back to our journey through the golden letters of a wise old father to his son. Letters that carry not only sales experience, but also a whole philosophy of life. In the previous chapters, we've gone deep into the importance of honesty, persistence, and a never-ending learning mindset. Today, we're opening a new chapter 1 that is in many ways the heart of every successful business and also the heart of a fulfilled life. Chapter 5. The art of building relationships, not just closing transactions. Let's turn the pages of these letters together and uncover a truth that can completely change the way you see your work and your relationships. Our goal in this section is not just to make a sale, but to turn customers into friends, into loyal advocates, into people who become a real, meaningful part of our lives. In one letter that I personally love, the old father writes, "My boy, in this business of selling, never forget that one loyal old customer is worth more than 10 new prospects. Their gold son. Never neglect them just because you're busy chasing new faces. A relationship that's been nurtured, a trust that's been built, that's an asset you can't put a price on. Take care of them the way you'd tend your garden, water it, regularly trim it carefully, and you'll see the fruit keep coming season after season." Sounds simple, doesn't it? But pause for a moment and really think about it. In a world where everyone is obsessed with what's new leads, new markets, new segments, this old father's advice rings out like a powerful reminder about the value of sustainability. Why? The reason is simple. An existing customer already knows you, already trusts you, and more importantly, has already experienced your product or service. The cost of selling to a current customer is far lower than the cost of finding and convincing a new one. They're also the ones most likely to refer their friends, family, and colleagues to you. That's a positive feedback loop the old father saw long before modern marketers came up with fancy terms to describe it. And when we talk about value here, we're not just talking about a single transaction. This is where we need to introduce a concept that businesses of all sizes care deeply about today. Customer lifetime value, CLV. Think about it. Someone who buys your coffee every morning for 5 years. Someone who shops at your store every season. Or a company that hires you for consulting every time they start a new project. They're not just a $5 drink, a $100 purchase, or a $5,000 contract. Over time, they could represent tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars in potential revenue throughout the lifetime of their relationship with you. CLV is the total amount a customer is likely to spend on your products or services over the entire span of their relationship with your brand. If you only focus on one-and-done sales, you're walking away from an entire ocean of value. Instead, see each customer as a long-term partner, a person you want to walk alongside through many chapters of their life or business. When you truly understand a customer's lifetime value, you'll be much more willing to invest time, effort, and even money into nurturing that relationship. Because you know that in the long run, that investment will pay you back many times over. So then how do we actually build genuine relationships, not just cold mechanical transactions? It starts with small actions that seem simple on the surface, but carry enormous meaning, actions that come from genuine care, not from a hidden sales agenda. Think about things like a birthday email with no sales pitch attached, just a simple happy birthday, customer's name, wishing you an amazing day, filled with joy. A quick check-in when you know they've gone through something important, good or bad. For example, hi, customer's name. I heard your project X just wrapped up successfully. Congratulations, or hi, customer's name. I hope everything is okay after what happened recently. If there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to reach out. Sharing an article, a book, or a podcast you believe might actually help them based on what you know about their interests or business. Hi, customer's name. I just read this piece about trends and why, and immediately thought of you. I figured you might find it interesting. Introducing them to someone who can support them without expecting anything in return. Hi, customer's name. I have a friend who works in Zed. I think the two of you could really benefit from knowing each other. Let me connect you, remembering small personal details from your previous conversations, where their kids go to school, what hobbies they enjoy, where they recently traveled. Next time you talk, you might say, "Hey, has your son settled into his new school yet?" That tiny detail shows you were listening and that you genuinely care. Do these things cost a lot of time? Are they expensive? Most of the time, no. But the value they create is enormous. They build a bridge of trust, respect, and even friendship. When you give without expecting anything right away, you're planting the seeds of gratitude and loyalty. And everything we've just talked about, from taking care of existing customers to these seemingly small gestures, all revolves around one golden principle. A life philosophy the old father wove into every letter. Give first, receive later. In a world of cutthroat competition, a lot of people focus only on getting customers, getting revenue, getting profit. But the old father, in his wisdom, understood that this is a short game, a game where eventually everybody loses. When you give first, you're not just giving away products or services. You're giving attention. You're giving value. You're giving support. You're giving your time. And you're doing it without tying it to an immediate expectation of getting something back. This is not a manipulation tactic. It's a way of living. It's like planting a seed. You don't put it in the ground and expect fruit the very next morning. You water it. You feed the soil. You care for it with patience. And then one day the tree blooms, bears fruit, and gives you not just one, but many harvests. When you build relationships on a foundation of generosity, you're building a network of mutual support. Your customers won't just be buyers. They'll become fans, supporters, and unpaid brand ambassadors. They'll tell your story to others. They'll defend you when you face challenges. They'll come back to you whenever they need what you offer. Because they feel seen, valued, and cared for, not just treated like a number on a spreadsheet. This chapter isn't just about selling. It's about how we live, how we interact with the world around us. The old father's philosophy teaches us that true success doesn't come from piling up possessions, but from building meaningful relationships. When you turn customers into friends, you're not just securing your business future, you're enriching your own life. So this week, I want you to think about your customers, the ones who have trusted you and walked with you so far. What is one small thing you can do to show genuine care for them with no intention of making a sale? Try planting one seed of goodwill and watch how it starts to grow. In the next chapter, we'll dive into another equally important topic. Chapter 6. The power of listening and the ability to truly understand. See you there. Welcome back, everyone, to our series where we explore the wisdom-packed letters from a seasoned salesman to his son. In the previous chapters, we talked about integrity, persistence, and the right attitude. But for those qualities to truly shine and translate into real results, we need a solid foundation, something the old father emphasized over and over again: knowledge. Today, we're diving into Chapter 6. Knowledge is power. Become the expert. Have you ever felt unsure of yourself when standing in front of a customer, or wondered how to earn not just their attention, but their trust, so they see you as more than someone trying to make a sale? The answer lies right here in this very chapter. The old father gives his son a core piece of advice, one I believe is even more true today than ever before. My boy, you must know your product better than anyone else on earth. Pause for a moment and think about that. Better than anyone else on earth. This isn't about skimming through a catalog or memorizing a few bullet points. It's about understanding your product down to its roots, to the smallest details. It means knowing how it's made, what materials go into it, what the production process looks like. It means knowing every feature, not just what it does, but why it works that way, and most importantly, what it means for the customer. Imagine this. If you were a doctor, could you treat a patient without understanding human anatomy or knowing how different medications work and what side effects they carry? Of course not. In the same way, if you're a salesperson, you cannot truly advise your customer unless you are the expert on your own product. Customers today are incredibly informed. They can research anything online in seconds. If you can't offer more insight than what they can get from Google, then what value do you bring? Product knowledge doesn't just help you answer questions smoothly. It helps you anticipate concerns, handle objections confidently, highlight unique strengths, and explain subtle distinctions customers might not notice on their own. It even gives you the power to acknowledge small limitations honestly, and turn that honesty into trust or into an opportunity to recommend a better fitting solution. But the old father didn't want his son to be just a walking encyclopedia of his own product. He wanted him to see the bigger picture. He wanted him to build a wide, ever-growing base of knowledge. And that brings us to the second point. Develop habits of reading, staying informed about your industry and understanding the market. The world is constantly changing, and so is your industry. New products launch, technology evolves, competitors adjust their strategy. If you're not updating yourself, you'll become outdated faster than you think. Read books and industry materials. This helps you absorb foundational knowledge, timeless business philosophies, and the lessons of those who came before you. Don't limit yourself to sales books. Read about psychology, economics, technology, history. Anything that expands your worldview. Follow industry news, subscribe to newsletters, read reputable sites, join LinkedIn groups or Facebook communities. You should know what trends are emerging, what new regulations might impact your field, and what customers are talking about. If you sell tech products, for example, you should know about the newest processors, operating systems, or cybersecurity concerns. Understand the market. Know your target customers, the challenges they face, their buying behaviors, and your competitors. Who are the main players? What advantages do they have? What is their pricing strategy? Where are their weaknesses, areas where you can ethically highlight your strengths? Stay aware of broader social and economic issues. A truly great salesperson is someone who's well-rounded, someone who can carry meaningful conversations. This helps you build rapport and understand the bigger picture your customers are living in. Business owners care about economic policies. Families care about education and healthcare. When you understand these things, you can connect your product to what matters most to them. And when you accumulate this wide, deep base of knowledge, something powerful happens. You begin to develop unshakable confidence and undeniable credibility. That's the third point of the chapter. Picture yourself walking into a meeting with a customer. You don't just bring your product, you bring a reservoir of insight. You can answer any question. You can offer sharp analysis of market trends. You can compare your product with competitors honestly and convincingly. That confidence radiates. It transfers to your customer, putting them at ease. Credibility isn't something you can buy. It's built over time through consistent action, professionalism, and above all, deep knowledge. When customers see you truly understand their challenges, the solutions available, and the bigger picture, they stop seeing you as a salesperson. They start seeing you as an advisor, a specialist, someone whose opinion carries weight. They'll feel the sincerity behind your recommendations because they're rooted in understanding, not just the desire to close a deal. They'll trust your guidance because they know you've considered every angle. This creates a relationship far beyond buying and selling, a relationship founded on respect and trust. And this is exactly what the old father wanted his son to become. And the ultimate takeaway of this chapter: become the person customers come to for advice, not just the person they come to for a purchase. This is the pinnacle of a sales career. When you reach this level, you no longer have to chase customers. They come looking for you. They call you, email you, and recommend you to others. Why? Because you offer value far beyond your product. You're the reliable expert they can count on. Becoming an expert means always putting the customer's needs first. You don't sell what you have, you sell what they need, based on deep knowledge from both sides. You save them time, money, and effort through sound advice. So how do you begin this journey? Turn learning into a daily habit, a non-negotiable part of your routine. Spend 30 minutes each morning reading industry news, a chapter from a book, or watching a detailed analysis video. Take notes. Ask questions to coworkers, mentors, even your own customers. Attend courses, workshops, webinars. See each day as an opportunity to learn something new, something deeper. Don't treat learning as a burden. Treat it as an adventure, an investment in your future. Knowledge is the one asset no one can take from you, and it multiplies the more you share it. Remember, in today's competitive world, the best salespeople are not just great presenters. They are great listeners, great learners, and great advisors. They don't just sell products, they sell solutions, trust, and personal credibility. So start today. Begin the journey of becoming the expert so that every time you sit down with a customer, you don't just bring a product. You bring a treasure chest of value. Become the person customers seek out for wisdom, not just for a transaction. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in Chapter 7, where we continue uncovering more priceless lessons from the Old Father. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope your week has been productive and full of good energy. In this video series on letters from an old-time salesman to his son, we've explored a lot of strategies, skills, and sales philosophies together. We've talked about the importance of understanding your customer, building relationships, and the art of persuasion. But today, we're going to dive into a chapter that personally hits me very deeply, a chapter where the old father gives some of his most heartfelt and profound advice to his son. That is Chapter 7, taking care of your most important tool, yourself. Have you ever stopped to think, among all the tools you use to work from your phone, your laptop, to your polished communication skills, which one is actually the most important? The old salesman, who had been a top performer in his day, understood this better than anyone. He knew that before you can sell anything, you need to take care of the one tool that matters most, that is you. He writes to his son in a warm, almost timeless tone, like a reminder that never goes out of date. My boy, the first and most important thing is that you must take care of this vehicle of yours. Your body, your mind, your spirit. They are the most valuable assets you have. And honestly, his advice isn't just fluffy talk about health. It's a life strategy, a long-term investment in your career and in your life. Key point 1, rest well, eat well, stay positive. The father emphasizes 3 core elements: getting enough rest, eating in a balanced way, and keeping a positive mindset. First, about getting enough rest, I know that in the fast-paced grind of work, especially in sales, we tend to push through and burn the candle at both ends. Sleeping 5 and 6 hours a night already feels like a luxury for many people. But the father warns. A tired salesman is an ineffective salesman. Your mind won't be sharp, your enthusiasm will fade, and your patience will run out. Getting enough sleep isn't just something your grandma nagged you about. It's actual fuel for your brain and your body. When you're well rested, you think more clearly, react faster, remember better, and most importantly, you can handle rejection in a calmer, more resilient way. I remember weeks when I worked like crazy, barely ate, barely slept, just to hit my targets. And by the end of the week, I was completely drained. I couldn't think straight, couldn't make good decisions, and my productivity didn't go up. It actually dropped hard. Second, eating in a balanced way, not just to get a six-pack, but to keep your energy steady throughout the day. The father says, never skip your meals and choose what's good for your body. An empty stomach or a rushed fast food meal will drain your energy halfway through your day. Think about it. When you're trying to close a big deal in the afternoon, do you really want your body feeling sluggish and heavy from a greasy lunch? Or do you want to feel alert and energized thanks to a more balanced meal? Our bodies are a lot like a car. If you keep filling it with cheap, low-quality fuel, how can you expect it to run smoothly for the long haul? And finally, just as important, keeping a positive mindset. Sales is full of challenges, rejections, and lousy days. The father advises, no matter what happens, try to keep a positive attitude. Your smile, your confidence, and your enthusiasm are just as important a part of your product as the thing you're selling. Your attitude is the filter through which customers see your product. A salesperson who's pessimistic and gloomy will make customers nervous, maybe even suspicious about the quality of what you're selling. On the other hand, someone who's optimistic and confident radiates positive energy, builds trust, and makes customers feel at ease. Being optimistic doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means believing you can get through them and learn from them. Key point 2, burnout in sales and how to recognize it. And this is where we need to talk about a silent but very common disease in sales: burnout. The old father didn't use the word burnout back in his day. It wasn't really a defined concept like it is now, but he described very accurately the consequences of not taking care of yourself: physical and mental exhaustion. Sales is one of the fields with the highest burnout rates. Constant pressure to hit quotas, aggressive targets, ongoing competition, getting told no over and over. Plus, the expectation to stay upbeat even when you're running on empty, all of that can wear you down. So how do you recognize the signs of burnout? Trouble sleeping or sleeping too much, but still feeling exhausted? You're either tossing and turning all night or wanting to stay in bed all day. Difficulty concentrating, memory issues. You're forgetful, easily distracted, and can't stay focused on a task for long. Irritability, a short fuse. Little things set you off. You get annoyed easily with coworkers, clients, or even family members. Loss of interest in work. You used to be passionate now. Everything feels boring, pointless, and you just want it all to be over. Drop in performance. You miss appointments, fall short of your targets, or your work quality clearly declines. Feeling empty or hopeless. The heavy sense of helplessness, like you can't find meaning in your work or your life. Physical health issues, headaches, stomach issues, tight muscles, or getting sick more often. If you recognize yourself in some of these signs, don't ignore them. Treat them like warning lights on your car's dashboard. Burnout is not a sign of weakness. It's your body and mind calling out for help. If you don't address it, it can seriously damage your career and your health over the long term. Key point 3, your energy and enthusiasm are part of your product. Picture a salesperson who's full of energy and confidence interacting with a client versus one who's drained and lifeless. The old fathers saw this very clearly, long before we had modern terms for it. Your energy and enthusiasm are an essential part of the product you're selling. When you walk into a meeting or pick up the phone, the first thing people feel isn't your product's specs or price. It's your energy. Are you tired and dragging or alive and fully present? Customers don't just buy a product. They buy the energy, conviction, and confidence they sense from you. Your confidence, your tone of voice, the spark in your eyes. When you talk about what you do, these are invisible but incredibly powerful ingredients in your offer. A salesperson who has no energy, speaks weakly, and looks checked out will struggle to inspire trust or excitement, no matter how good the product is. Nobody wants to buy from someone who looks like they just want the conversation to end as fast as possible, right? Think of it this way. If you were a car manufacturer, you would never let a scratched, dented vehicle roll off the production line to sell to a customer. In the same way, if you're in sales, you shouldn't show up in front of clients as a damaged version of yourself, sleep-deprived, stressed out, negative. Taking care of yourself is how you make sure that your most important product, you, is always in top condition. Key point 4, having hobbies outside of work to recharge and enrich your life. So how do we avoid burnout and maintain that energy? Besides rest and nutrition, the father shares a golden piece of advice. Have interests outside of work. He writes, "Don't let your work take over your entire life. Make time for the things you love, for hobbies that relax you and enrich your soul. Hobbies that have nothing to do with your job are like a pressure release valve. They pull you out of the work loop and give your mind and body a chance to recover, to recharge your battery. That could be reading, playing music, gardening, running, painting, or simply spending quality time with your family and friends. For me personally, spending time with family, going for long walks in nature, or just sitting quietly with a good book are some of the most effective ways to reset. When I come back to my desk, I feel fresher, more creative, and much sharper at solving problems. The father understood that a balanced life isn't just good for your health, it's good for your career. A rich inner life and a relaxed mind help you see problems from different angles, boost creativity, and increase flexibility. All crucial traits for a truly great salesperson. This isn't about working less. It's about working better and more sustainably. The goal is a long-term career, not a sprint that leaves you collapsed at the finish line. So there you have it, my friends. Take care of your most important tool, yourself. A piece of advice that sounds simple on the surface, but carries a deep philosophy about work and life. Taking care of yourself is not a luxury. It is one of the smartest investments you can make in your career. It ensures that you have the health mindset and energy not only to hit your short-term goals, but to build a solid, long-lasting, and truly meaningful career. That's the philosophy the old father passed down, and it's just as true today in a world of increasing pressure and pace. Take a moment to look at yourself. How well have you been taking care of this most important tool? Or have you been running it into the ground, letting it rust under constant strain? Give yourself a moment to reflect on that. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapters of Letters from an Old-Time Salesman to His Son. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll explore another fascinating aspect of the art of selling. Wishing you a week full of productivity and powerful energy. Welcome back to our series, where we explore timeless lessons from the book, Letters from an Old-Time Salesman to His Son. I hope you've had some time to reflect on the previous chapters, and that you're excited for what's coming next. Today, we're diving into a topic that I believe is foundational to success, no matter what field you work in. Whether it's sales or simply day-to-day communication, your words, the power of persuasion and clarity. The goal of this chapter is to explore the art of using simple, direct, yet powerful language to communicate present ideas and persuade effectively. This isn't just about what we say, it's about how we say it. 1. The father's language: direct, honest, and easy to understand. When you read the old salesman's letters to his son, do you notice something? His wording is incredibly direct. No fluff, no fancy vocabulary, no trying to sound impressive. He gets straight to the point, using everyday words that anyone can understand. And that directness creates authenticity. It makes the reader and his son feel like he's speaking face to face with nothing to hide. It builds a tremendous amount of trust. Sales communication works the same way, and honestly, it applies to any persuasive conversation in life. Customers don't want to hear you flex your vocabulary or drown them in clever wording. They want clarity. They want honesty. They want to know how you can help them. Your sincerity expressed through simple, straightforward language is the first bridge to trust. If you aren't sincere in your words, they'll feel it immediately. Put yourself in their shoes. Do you prefer someone who talks in circles, or someone who speaks clearly, directly, and respectfully? The answer is obvious. 2. Avoid complicated jargon. Always lead with the customer's benefits. This is a mistake many people make, including myself when I first started. We love using technical terms, industry jargon, or big impressive words to show expertise. But to a customer, it's a wall. When they don't understand, they feel left out. Or worse, they feel like you're deliberately complicating things. Always remember, customers don't buy your product. They buy the solution your product provides. They don't care that a phone has an A17 chip with 19 billion transistors. That means nothing to them. What they care about is, with this phone, you can run multiple apps seamlessly, take sharp photos, even in low light, and get all-day battery life without constantly reaching for the charger. That's the difference between features and benefits. Features are what the product has. Benefits are what the product does for them. So before presenting any feature, pause and ask, what does this mean for them? What problem does it solve? What improvement does it bring to their life or work? If you can't answer these questions clearly and simply rethink how you're explaining it, always put the customer and their needs at the center of the conversation. 3. Highlight the power of storytelling to create emotional connection. Human beings are wired for stories. Since ancient times, stories have helped us learn, remember, and connect. A good story reaches the heart in ways numbers and charts never will. When you tell a story, you're not just giving information, you're transmitting emotion. You paint a picture in the listener's mind, helping them see the problem, the solution, and the result. This is incredibly powerful in sales. How do you tell a good story in sales? Start with a relatable problem. Have you ever felt like a lot of my clients were struggling with? Introduce a character like a real past customer, Mark, who runs a small business, used to struggle with. Present the solution, your product, service. After switching to our system, end with a positive outcome. Now he saves 30% of his time every week and finally has weekends free for his family. A story doesn't need to be long or dramatic. It just needs to be real clear and relevant. When you tell a story, you're not just selling an item, you're selling an experience, a transformation, a feeling. 4. A guide to structuring a sales presentation that's clear and concise. Everything we've talked about becomes useless if your message isn't organized logically. A strong sales presentation doesn't need to be long, it needs to be coherent. Think of it like a treasure map, clear, step by step, easy to follow. Here's a simple structure you can use. Attention-grabbing, opening the hook. Start with a question, a surprising stat, or a short relevant story. Your mission is to capture attention instantly. Example: did you know small businesses in the U.S. waste an average of 8-12 hours each week just managing orders manually? Identify the problem. The problems show them you truly understand their pain point. Example: manual spreadsheets aren't just slow. They lead to errors, unhappy customers, and lost revenue. Present the solution. The solution: introduce your product or service as the answer. Example: that's why we created the order management system at the heart of our platform. Emphasize the benefits, This part matters most. Focus on what the product does for them in real life. Example: with our system, you can cut management time by 50%, reduce errors by 90%, and deliver a smoother experience that keeps customers coming back. Provide proof. The proof: stats, testimonials, demos, case studies, anything that backs up your claims. Example: within 3 months, one of our clients boosted revenue by 15% after switching to our system. Call to action. The call to action: clear, direct, and unambiguous. Example: let me schedule a free 30-minute demo next week so you can see the system in action, or feel free to visit our site for more information. Practice it. Not to memorize it word for word, but to make it feel natural, flexible, and personalized to each customer. And that brings us to the end of our journey into the power of a language. From the old father's simple, honest way of speaking to avoiding jargon and focusing on real customer benefits, to using the emotional pull of storytelling, and finally structuring a clear, persuasive presentation. Language isn't just a tool for transmitting information. It's a bridge between minds. It's the key to persuasion. Use it consciously, strategically, and sincerely. Because in the end, how you say something matters just as much as what you say. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this chapter. Have you applied these principles in your daily communication or at work? Do you have your own tips for using language more effectively? Share them with me in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the upcoming chapters. I'll see you in Chapter 9, where we'll explore another fascinating piece of the art of selling. Thanks for listening and for learning along with me. Welcome back to the channel and to this journey through the wise, heartfelt letters from a father to his son. If you've been following from the beginning, you'll notice we've already walked through a whole spectrum of emotions, from youthful ambition to those early stumbles in life and career. And today, we're diving into a topic everyone cares about, but not everyone truly understands money. This is Chapter 9, Money Lessons. How to earn it, keep it, and grow it. When we talk about money, most people immediately think about how to get more of it. But this book doesn't take that usual path. The father doesn't teach his son how to get rich quick. He teaches him how to build a healthy relationship with money, to see it as a measure of the value you create, and to turn it into a tool for freedom. And I really resonate with this perspective, because it's not just financial advice. It's a life philosophy. Let's read a passage where the father doesn't hold back. He shares some very direct views about money that in his mind form the foundation of a successful career and a successful life. My boy, there are two things you must learn to master if you ever want to be truly free your time and your money. You've been learning how to use your time wisely. But what about your money? Never underestimate the power of a single dollar saved. It's not just there for emergencies. It's the seed of your freedom and the seed of future opportunities. Remember, saving isn't stinginess, it's investing in your own future. And one more thing, put your money to work for you. Don't let it just sit there doing nothing. Learn how to invest even if you start with small amounts. Turn every dollar into a hard-working employee that brings more dollars back home. Finally, and this is a serious warning, you must carve into your mind, stay away from unnecessary debt. Debt is an invisible chain. It ties you to worry and steals your freedom of thought and action. Never buy what you can't afford to pay for, and never buy what you don't really need just to show off. When I read these lines, I can't help but nod along. In English, we say, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And that's exactly the spirit here. In today's consumer world, where you can buy almost anything in seconds with a card swipe or a tap on your phone, keeping a cool head and your own financial principles is more important than ever. Saving money doesn't mean you're denying yourself happiness. It means you're building a solid foundation so you can enjoy bigger and better joys later with peace of mind. The father in these letters is a seasoned salesman, and his son is just stepping into the same path. That brings us to the second big idea: the relationship between sales commission and the responsibility of managing your personal finances. As salespeople, our income is often tied to commission. It fluctuates. It's not like a steady paycheck every 2 weeks. One month you might crush your quota and feel like you're rolling in cash. The next month things slow down and you make much less. Commission is more than just a number. It's evidence of the value you've created for your customers and your company. It's the clearest sign that you're solving problems and delivering results. But with that variable income comes a much bigger responsibility managing your money well. I've seen plenty of great salespeople who earn a lot. But because they don't know how to manage their finances, they're always living paycheck to paycheck. Money comes in and then it's gone even faster. Because sales income isn't predictable, salespeople especially need to become masters of budgeting, saving, and investing. Treat every commission dollar not just as a reward for your effort, but as a tool to build your future. Don't let those big money months blind you to the long game. And this leads us to what might be the deepest philosophy the Father shares, and the point I want to highlight most in this chapter. The goal is not to chase money. The goal is to create value and let money follow. I truly believe this. Money is a natural byproduct of solving problems for other people and creating real value in the world. Think about it. A well-made chair, a delicious meal, a thoughtful service experience, a powerful business solution, all of these deliver value, and people are willing to pay fairly for that value. When you focus on becoming someone who creates value, you stop feeling like you're just selling something. Instead, you're helping, you're serving. That's when work becomes meaningful. And that's also when money starts to show up in a more natural, sustainable way, not by burning yourself out, but by being genuinely appreciated by the people you help. This philosophy also frees us from the pressure of making money at any cost. When value is the primary goal, ethics in business automatically move to the forefront. You don't feel the need to trick, pressure, or manipulate customers because you know only real value lasts. And when customers receive real value, they come back. They refer you. They trust you. That's how money doesn't just follow, it starts to multiply organically. So how do we turn all these lofty ideas into real-world habits? The answer lies in some very basic but extremely powerful financial principles. Budgeting and living below your means. It may sound boring, but this is the golden key to financial freedom and the peace of mind that money can bring. Budgeting is not a chain, it's a map. It shows you where your money is going, what truly matters, and what can be cut back. I remember a friend once saying to me, "I don't have any money left to save." But when we sat down and went through a detailed budget, we found all sorts of little expenses that added up: impulse buy, subscriptions. They barely used random spending that didn't actually bring real value. With just a few adjustments, they were suddenly able to start saving. And living below your means. This is the principle, I believe, is the most important of all. It's not about being cheap. It's about making a conscious choice to create space between what you earn and what you spend. When you live below your income, you create a financial buffer. That buffer is where you build savings, where you invest, and where you protect yourself from life's surprises. You can follow frameworks like the 50-30-20 rule: 50% of your income for essentials, housing, food, transportation, 30% for wants, fun, hobbies, lifestyle, and 20% for saving and debt repayment. Or keep it even simpler, decide that a certain percentage of every paycheck is immediately set aside for saving or investing the moment it hits your account. Don't wait until the end of the month, because usually by then there's nothing left. Remember, the goal of managing money isn't to stack up a huge pile of cash just to stare at it. The goal is to have enough for what you need, enough for what you truly want. With intention, not impulse, and enough to use money as a tool to build a life of freedom and purpose, instead of being crushed by financial stress. So, in Chapter 9, we've explored a deep yet practical way of thinking about money, from Letters from an Old Time Salesman to his son, money as a measure of value, commission as proof of value, creating value before chasing money, and then managing it with budgeting and living below your means. All of it pointing toward one thing: a life where you're not controlled by money, but where money serves your goals and supports a life of freedom and peace. What resonated most with you in this chapter, let me know in the comments below. In the next chapter, we'll dive into another important aspect of career and life that the Father talks about. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next powerful lessons. We've walked through so many emotions together, already from grit and perseverance to self-respect to the art of listening and truly understanding others. But today, we're not just stopping at skills or professional philosophies anymore. We're going to dig into something bigger, deeper, and honestly, more sacred legacy. Today, we're closing this book with a chapter that I believe will change the way you see your work, especially the profession of sales. We're going to wrap up the core philosophy of the book and, more importantly, elevate sales from just a job into a meaningful vocation, a path of service contribution and impact on the world around us. Sounds big, right? But trust me, by the end of this chapter, you'll see you have every reason to say exactly that. Warren, the final letter, a father's pride and the legacy he leaves behind. In all the previous letters, the father has shared everything he knows, from mindset and preparation to how to approach customers, how to handle rejection, and how to maintain relationships. But this last letter, letter number 10, has a completely different tone. It's no longer about detailed how-to advice. It's a summary of the heart, a message from deep inside his soul. In these final lines, the father isn't just expressing how proud he is of his son. He's also expressing a deep, almost sacred pride in the profession he devoted his life to. He says something along the lines of, "Son, you've learned a lot. I believe you'll become a good salesman. But more importantly, I believe you'll become a good man. Be proud of your work, because selling isn't just about making money. It's a calling." That's not bragging. It's a statement of value. He looks back on his whole career, his whole life of effort and service, and he sees that it meant something. The legacy he's talking about isn't a giant bank account or some fancy title. His legacy is that quiet, steady sense of pride, the dedication, the integrity, and the value he brought into the lives of the people around him. And when I read this, I had to pause and ask myself, have we ever really stopped to feel proud of the work we do? Whoever you are, whatever your job is, can you honestly say you're proud of it, that it gives your life meaning? This father could say yes to that. And he wanted his son to be able to say the same. He didn't just want his son to inherit techniques or tactics. He wanted him to inherit the spirit of a truly professional, truly honorable salesperson. 2. A salesperson's legacy, relationships, and problem solved. So what exactly is the legacy of a salesperson? Ask 10 people, and 9 of them will probably talk about money, revenue, or building a successful brand. But this book, and especially the final letter, paints a very different, deeper picture. A salesperson's real legacy isn't the number in their bank account. It's the relationships they build along the way. Think about it. Through all the meetings, the conversations, the times you listened carefully and really tried to understand, you've built trust. Those relationships can grow into friendships, long-term partnerships, and support networks that matter not just in business, but in real life. An honest salesperson, someone who truly puts the customer's best interest first, will be remembered not for what they sold, but for how they cared. Second, their legacy is all the problems they helped solve. You're not just selling a product, you're selling a solution. You're not just selling a laptop. You're selling the ability for a family to stay connected, a student to learn, or a small business owner to work faster and smarter. You're not just selling a house. You're selling a home, a place for a family to put down roots and build memories. You're not just selling an insurance policy. You're selling peace of mind protection and a sense of security for the people someone loves most. Every time you successfully match the right product with the right need, you're not just closing a deal. You're solving a problem. You're improving a piece of someone's life. When you look back, all those problems solved, all those grateful smiles, all those heartfelt thank you moments, that is your lasting legacy. You can't measure it with a spreadsheet, but its value is enormous. It's the mark you leave on other people's lives. 3. Sales is a noble profession. You're a builder, not just a closer. Let's be honest, a lot of people still have a pretty negative stereotype about sales. They think it's all about money tricks, pressure, or even deception. But this book, and the deep pride of this old salesman father, completely shatters that cliché. It puts sales in its rightful place as a noble profession. Why noble? Because it demands real empathy, You have to put yourself in someone else's shoes, listen to their worries, and understand their unspoken needs and fears. Because it requires honesty and integrity. Trust is the most valuable asset you have, and a true salesperson will never trade that away. Because you are the bridge between innovation and real-world needs. Think about it, every great invention, every life-changing product or service, no matter how brilliant, would remain just an idea on paper if there were no one to bring it to the people who need it. Salespeople are the ones who move knowledge, tools, and value from where they're created to where they're used. They keep the economy flowing. A true professional in sales isn't just a bridge between products and customers. They're a catalyst for progress. They help new ideas get adopted. They help businesses grow. They help individuals live better, work smarter, and feel safer. From the phone in your hand, to the clothes you're wearing, to the medicine that saves lives, none of those things would reach people without dedicated, ethical salespeople doing their part. So I want you to look at your sales job, or any job you do, with a bigger lens. You're not just doing tasks. You're helping build society. You're a vital gear in the machine that keeps this world running. You're helping people live better, work better, and feel happier. Isn't that something to be proud of? Isn't that the definition of a noble profession? 4. Tying it all together, a life philosophy that goes far beyond sales. And finally, here's what I hope you take away from this entire series. Letters from an Old-Time Salesman to his son is not just a sales manual. It's a full life philosophy. Look back at what we've covered through each chapter. Chapter 1. Self-confidence and self-respect foundations for any area of life. Chapter 2. The art of listening. The golden key to every relationship, not just with customers, but with family and friends. Chapter 3. Perseverance and bouncing back from rejection, priceless lessons for every challenge you'll ever face. Chapter 4. Understanding your product and the value you bring, not just at work, but in understanding yourself and what you contribute to the world. Chapter 5. Building relationships based on trust, the core of every long-term, meaningful connection. And on, chapter after chapter. Every letter, every lesson can be applied far beyond the business world. They shape how we treat ourselves, how we treat the people around us, and how we respond to life. This father wasn't just teaching his son how to sell. He was teaching him how to live a meaningful life, how to become a man of integrity, how to be kind, dependable, and willing to contribute. He taught that real success isn't measured only by what you achieve, but by the kind of person you become along the way. It comes from integrity, from courage in the face of failure, from your ability to understand others and help them. So here we are, my friends. After 10 heartfelt letters and 10 rich chapters, we've walked the journey of a salesman and discovered that sales is anything but a shallow job. It's an art. It's a craft. And above all, it's a noble profession. It's a path where you create value, solve problems, build strong relationships, and leave behind a legacy that actually matters. A legacy of service. A legacy of trust. A legacy of smiles, support, and a slightly better world. Because you were in it. Always hold on to that pride in what you do. Always strive to be the best salesperson, the best professional, and the best human being you can be. Because when you do that, you're not just making sales, you're living a deeply meaningful life. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this entire series. I truly hope these reflections have given you a fresh perspective and inspired you to walk your own path with more confidence and purpose. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next videos coming up on this channel. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay grounded, stay proud, and keep going strong. Hey everyone, I hope you've had some amazing time to reflect on all the wise letters we've just explored, from letters from an old-time salesman to his son. Those lessons, even though they were written decades ago, still ring loud and clear today, almost like they were written directly for us right now. But you know, I've always believed this. The real value of any book or lesson doesn't lie in how much we know, but in how we act on what we've learned. Philosophy that never gets applied is just pretty ink on paper. And that's exactly why, right now, I want to walk through a super practical plan with you. A 7-day roadmap that I truly believe, if you take it seriously, won't just change the way you look at selling, but also how you interact with the world, how you build relationships, and most importantly, how you see yourself. This is not a get-rich-quick plan, and it's not some magic script to close every deal. This is a journey to turn those deep lessons from the old salesman into specific, simple, doable actions changes that happen both inside you and around you. Ready? Let's dive into the 7-day plan to become an outstanding salesperson. Day 1 and 2. The power of listening. Be the ears, not the mouth. In our loud, fast-paced world, everyone wants to talk. Everyone wants to be heard. But the people who really stand out are the ones who know how to listen. The old father kept stressing how important it is to understand your customers. Not guessing, not assuming, truly understanding. So what's your challenge for the first 2 days? Pretty simple to say, but not easy to do. Spend a full 2 days just asking and listening to your customers without trying to sell them anything. Sounds easy, but trust me, it's harder than it looks. Our instinct is to present, explain, pitch, convince. This time we're going to put all of that aside. Concrete actions. 1. Pick 3 to 5 customers current or potential to have real conversations with. Choose people you feel you can talk with openly and honestly. 2. Set up a call or meeting. At the beginning, be completely transparent. Today, I'm not calling to sell you anything. I just want to listen. I want to better understand your challenges, your goals, and the things you're wrestling with in your work, your life, related to what we do. 3. Prepare a few open-ended questions. For example, what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now? What do you like most, dislike most about the product service you're using? If you could change or improve one thing immediately, what would it be? What do you care about most when choosing a solution like ours? What matters most to you when you make a decision? 4. Really listen. Don't interrupt. Don't jump in with solutions right away. Ask follow-up questions like, can you tell me more about that? How does that affect you? How do you feel about that? Take notes not just on the facts, but on their emotions, the exact words they use. I remember a time when I was sure I understood what my customers needed. I thought my product fit them perfectly. But when I finally shut up and just listened, really listened, I uncovered problems I'd never considered and hidden pains they never would have shared if I'd just stayed in selling mode. That was a real wake-up moment. What you'll gain, you'll collect gold mines of insight. But more than that, you'll start building a deep foundation of trust. Customers will feel respected, heard, and valued. That's the first big step toward opening their hearts to you. They won't see you as just another salesperson, but as a genuine advisor and companion. Day 3. The power of integrity and kindness. Plant goodness, harvest trust. After 2 days of deep listening, you've got a clearer view into your customer's world. Now it's time to act on what you've learned, but not by selling. The old father constantly reminded his son about the importance of integrity and service. Sometimes the greatest value you bring doesn't come from your product or service at all. It comes from who you are as a person. Your challenge for day 3. Do something kind to help a customer or someone in your network without expecting anything in return. Concrete actions. 1. Think back on what you heard in those first 2 days or what you already know about your customers. Is someone struggling with something you might be able to help with? Is there information, a resource, or a connection you can share that has nothing to do with closing a deal? 2. A few ideas. Introduce them to someone in your network who could help them with no benefit to you. Share an article, book, podcast, or course you think would be helpful for them, even if it has nothing to do with your product. If you notice they're stuck on a small problem, you can easily solve a quick tech issue, a software tip, a useful tool. Jump in and help. Or something simple, send a genuine thank you email or message just to say you appreciate their time and wish them a great day. No pitch attached. 3. Most important, do not bring up your product. Do not hint about buying. This act has to come from a sincere desire to help, not as a hidden sales tactic. I once had a client who was struggling to hire for a key leadership role. I don't offer recruiting services, but I knew someone great in that field. I connected them, no strings attached. No expectation, no hidden agenda. Months later, when he needed a solution in my area of expertise, guess who he called first? Not because I had the best pitch, but because he trusted my intentions. What you'll gain, acts of genuine kindness, build bridges stronger than any contract. They shape your reputation as someone trustworthy, professional, and human. You're planting seeds of goodwill, and those seeds grow into respect and long-term trust. Day 4 and 5. The power of persistence. Face the fear, stretch the limits. After listening deeply and leading with kindness, there's another crucial ingredient: persistence. And most of our ability to persist comes from how we deal with our own fears, especially the fear of rejection. The old father once said something like, "Never give up on a customer until you truly know you cannot serve him." Your challenge for day 4 and 5: do at least one thing you've been putting off because you're afraid of getting turned down, failing, or feeling uncomfortable. Concrete actions. 1. Identify that thing. It might be calling a potential customer you've been avoiding. Sending a follow-up email to someone you know is tough. Pitching a new idea or project you've been sitting on. Asking a customer for a testimonial you've been hesitant to request. Or even calling someone you're sure will say no just to build your rejection resilience. 2. Commit to doing it right away. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect timing. Set a clear goal. Today, I will do this one thing, no matter what happens. 3. Focus on the action, not the outcome. The goal is not, I must get a yes. The goal is, I did the thing. Celebrate the fact that you acted, whether the result is yes or no. 4. Learn from every result. If you get rejected, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What could I adjust next time? Don't label it as failure, treat it as feedback. I still remember my first cold call to the CEO of a big company. My hands were shaking, my heart was pounding. I delayed that call for a whole week. Finally, I told myself, worst case, he says no. I'll survive. I dialed. He didn't buy. But he did give me 5 minutes of very valuable advice. I didn't walk away with a deal that day, but I walked away with more confidence and a lesson I'd carry forward. That was a much bigger win. What you'll gain every time you push through fear and take action, you lay another brick in the foundation of your confidence. You'll realize your fears are usually much bigger in your mind than in reality. Persistence isn't about never failing. It's about refusing to quit after you fail. It builds the thick skin needed for anyone who wants to succeed. Day 6 and 7. The power of reflection. Look back to move forward. We've now gone through 5 intense days of action and challenge. Now it's time to pause, breathe, and reflect. The old father often encouraged his son to journal, to write down his thoughts and feelings. Looking back on your journey is crucial if you want to really cement what you've learned and plan your next steps. Your challenge for day 6 and 7, write a letter to yourself about what you've learned over the past 5 days and what goals you're setting moving forward. Concrete actions. 1. Find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. Grab a notebook and pen or open a blank document. 2. Write a letter to myself. Be completely honest. No need to sound poetic or impressive, just be real. Use questions like these to guide you. What's the biggest lesson I learned from listening to my customers during the first 2 days? Write down specific insights and emotions you noticed. How did I feel after doing that kind act on day 3? Did anything surprising happen? What fears did I face on day 4 and 5? What was the hardest part? What was the most valuable part? How can I do better next time? Overall, how do I feel after these 5 days? Has anything in my mindset or emotions shifted? With everything I've learned, what are my next goals? How will I apply these principles next week, next month? How will I keep training myself to listen better, stay honest, and stay persistent? 3. Let your thoughts flow. Don't worry about writing perfectly. The goal is to see yourself clearly. 4. Read your letter back to yourself. Really feel what you've written. This letter becomes a compass, a personal roadmap for your next stage of growth. Journaling like this is a habit I've kept for many years. It helps turn scattered experiences into real lessons. It turns vague emotions into clear intentions and goals. It's like having a conversation with your future self. What you'll gain. Reflection helps you organize what you've learned, reinforce good habits, and create a clear path forward. It turns experience into wisdom and helps you evolve from just being a salesperson into an outstanding one. Someone who is always learning, growing, and leveling up. So we've just walked through the 7-day plan to become an outstanding salesperson. And I really want to emphasize this. This isn't just a plan for people in sales. It's a personal growth plan. A plan to help you communicate better, become more trustworthy, more resilient, and more self-aware. You don't have to wait for Monday, or the first of the month, or the start of a new quarter. You can start today. Pick the first day you feel ready and step into this journey. I'm genuinely excited to hear about your experience. Which day are you going to start with? Which challenge are you most excited or scared, but willing to try? Share your thoughts, lessons, and even your struggles in the comments below. Let's build a community of people who are not only skilled, but also sincere, kind, and deeply human. I know we've covered a lot of ideas, a lot of stories, and you might be asking yourself, so when it all boils down, what really matters? What do I actually need to walk away with after this video? So it can really change the way I live and work. Don't worry. This is exactly the moment for us to distill everything. I want you to carve 3 golden lessons deep into your mind. These 3 lessons aren't just the foundation for a great career. They're a compass for a meaningful, fulfilled life. Think of them as 3 precious diamonds that never fade with time. Let's walk through each one together. Golden lesson number 1. Integrity is your greatest asset. Every skill and trick is useless without it. It sounds obvious, right? But let's be honest, in the rush of modern life, it's very easy to quietly compromise on this core value. Integrity is more than just being honest. It's the alignment between what you say and what you do. It's keeping your word even when no one is watching. It's choosing to do the right thing even when it's hard, inconvenient, or costs you something in the short term. It's the solid foundation of trust you build not just with customers and partners, but with yourself. Think about it. Even if a craftsman is incredibly skilled, if he constantly uses low-quality materials or lies about where his products come from, do you really think he can maintain his reputation and his business over the long run? Of course not. Customers might be fooled once, maybe twice, but eventually they'll figure it out. And when trust is broken, it's very hard, almost impossible to fully earn it back. In my own career, I've seen plenty of talented people. People with killer closing skills and off-the-charts persuasion fall apart over time. Why? Because they lacked integrity at the core. They valued short-term gain over long-term relationships. They relied on tricks and tactics. And in the end, their reputation collapsed like a sandcastle at high tide. On the other hand, I've also seen people who weren't the brightest star in the room, but they consistently operated with sincerity and integrity. Maybe they didn't close deals as fast as others. But when they did gain a customer, that relationship was built on trust, and those customers stayed for a long time, often referring even more people to them. And beyond the business results, they had peace of mind. Because they knew they were doing the right thing. So ask yourself every day, does this decision, this action strengthen my integrity or erode it? Always remember, your greatest asset isn't your skill set or your resume. It's your character. It's your integrity. Golden lesson number 2. You're not selling a product. You're building relationships and solving problems for real people. This mindset shift is incredibly powerful. It can completely transform how you approach both work and life. Most people, when they think of sales, think about convincing someone to buy something. But this book teaches us a completely different angle. Set aside the words product and service for a moment. Instead, think about the people you interact with. They have needs, hopes, worries, and problems they're trying to solve. Your job is not to push something onto them. Your job is to become a friend, an advisor, a specialist who helps them find the best solution for what they're dealing with. For example, if you sell a water filtration system, you're not just selling a piece of equipment. You're selling peace of mind about their family's health. You're selling convenience. You're selling a solution that gives them clean, safe water every single day. If you're a financial advisor, you're not just selling a policy or a fund. You're helping them plan their future. You're protecting their kids' security. You're helping them make that dream home or comfortable retirement a reality. To do that well, you have to learn how to listen. Not just with your ears, but with your heart and your mind. Ask open-ended questions. Go deeper into what they share. Try to truly understand their pain points, their dreams, and what really matters to them. Once you see those clearly recommending the right solution becomes much more natural. When you approach people with the mindset of helping and building relationships, you stop feeling like you're pushing or manipulating anyone. Instead, you feel like you're genuinely adding value. And when you bring real value, customers won't just buy from you once. They become loyal advocates. They'll recommend you to friends and family. They'll trust you the way they trust a reliable advisor, and that relationship can last a lifetime. Personally, every time I create a video like this, I don't think of it as selling you a course or a book. I think of it as sharing a perspective or a lesson that might help someone out there. Maybe you're stuck at work. Maybe you're feeling unmotivated. Maybe you simply have a deep hunger to learn and grow. If what I share can ease that a bit, give you clarity or light a spark, then I've done my job. And when I read your comments and messages saying thank you, this helped me, that's when I know we've built something more than just content. We've built a connection, a relationship that actually means something. So remember, the focus isn't on what you sell. It's on who you're helping and the relationship you're building with them. Golden lesson number 3. Great careers are built on discipline, persistence, and daily self-improvement. There are no shortcuts to meaningful success. That's a harsh truth, but also a very freeing one. It frees you from the illusion of overnight success or some secret hack that will magically change everything. It puts the power back in your hands. Discipline isn't some cold, rigid concept. Discipline is made of small daily habits, getting up a bit earlier to read, spending 30 minutes planning your day, reaching out to a few potential clients even when you're not in the mood, learning a new skill even if it's just 15 minutes a day. Those tiny repeated actions stacked day after day create massive differences over time. It's like building a house. Each brick might not look like much on its own, but laid carefully, consistently, day after day, it becomes a solid, lasting structure. Persistence is the ability to get back up every time you fall. There will be bad days. There will be rejections. There will be failures that blindside you. There will be moments when you're exhausted and tempted to quit. But it's in those moments that your persistence is forged. Remember, each failure isn't a full stop. It's a lesson. It's a chance to adjust and come back stronger. Successful people aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who refuse to stay down. And finally, never-ending self-improvement. The world is constantly changing technology markets, customer behavior. If you stand still, you fall behind. Learning never stops. Read books, take courses, find mentors, seek feedback. Most importantly, reflect on what you've done and how you can do it better next time. Treat each day as a chance to become a slightly better version of yourself, even if it's just 1%. Think about an Olympic athlete. They don't win a gold medal just because they were born talented. They go through thousands of hours of intense training. They endure injuries, fatigue, and days when their body screams to give up. But it's their daily discipline, relentless persistence, and constant drive to improve that eventually put them on the podium. In my own career, I've gone through seasons that were incredibly tough. There were moments I wanted to quit, times when it felt like nothing was working. But by sticking to my routines, staying disciplined with the small habits, and learning from every setback, I was able to move forward step by step to the point where I can share these lessons with you today. So there you have it. 3 lessons that sound simple, but carry the power to change your life. 1 point, integrity is your greatest asset. 2, you're not selling a product. You're building relationships and solving problems. 3, great careers are built on discipline, persistence, and constant self-improvement. Engrave them in your mind. Let them be the compass for every decision and every action you take. Not just in your work, but in how you treat your family, your friends, and yourself. I truly believe that if you absorb and apply these 3 golden principles, you won't just achieve success in your career, you'll also find a life filled with meaning, peace, and genuine joy. Start putting them into practice today. And just like that, our journey through Letters from an Old Time Salesman to His Son comes to an end. A short journey perhaps, but one that I believe has left each of us with lingering thoughts, quiet moments of reflection, and the space we need to look at ourselves and at the road we're currently walking. For me personally, as I read and pondered each letter, it felt as if I were sitting with a wise mentor, a seasoned father figure listening to the most heartfelt truths about life and work. It goes far beyond sales techniques. It cuts straight to the core of being human, of kindness, resilience, long-term vision, and the quiet dignity that comes from doing the right thing. These aren't just lessons to help you sell better. They're lessons to help you live better, to become a more valuable version of yourself in any field, any career, any chapter of life. But now, I'm genuinely curious. Which part of these letters touched you the most? Which lesson carved itself into your memory? The one you want to carry with you into the chapter ahead. Don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. I truly believe each of your insights is more than just an opinion. It's another valuable piece of the puzzle, helping all of us see the deeper meaning these letters offer. Because knowledge only comes alive when we reflect, converse, and grow together. If the lessons we just explored brought you even a spark of inspiration, a fresh perspective, a moment of calm, or simply something worth thinking about, don't forget to hit like so this video can reach even more people. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you won't miss any of our future journeys together. I still have so many incredible books, timeless ideas, and inspiring stories that I can't wait to share with you. And I would love for you to be part of this community of curious, growth-minded people. Life has shown us time and time again that sometimes all it takes is a single piece of advice at the right moment, a story that hits the heart, to completely change the direction of someone's life. So if you think there's a friend, a coworker, or someone you care about who could use the encouragement and wisdom in these letters, don't hesitate to share this video with them. You never know, your one simple gesture might mean more than you could ever imagine. Let these timeless messages continue their journey. Let them reach the hearts that need them. And finally, I truly encourage you, if you can, to read the original book yourself. Letters from an Old Time Salesman to His Son, George H. Doran Company. What we covered here is only a small portion, just a few polished fragments of a much richer whole. To really feel the emotional rhythm of the letters, the nuance of the writing and the world that old salesman created, you need to open the pages yourself. Trust me, the experience is deeper, warmer, and more personal than any video could ever capture. A physical book, the ink, the paper, the soft rustle of each page carries a kind of magic that no screen can replace. Now the lamp has been switched off. The book is closed, but the pages of your life are still wide open, waiting for you to write the next lines, the next chapter, the next letters of your own story. Letters to your future self. Letters to the people you love. Letters shaped by the choices you make from this moment forward. Remember, these letters aren't just the story of an old salesman. They are a map, a compass for each of us to craft the letters of our own lives. Bring these lessons into your work, your relationships, your daily decisions. Let them be your guiding principles, your anchor of integrity, your fuel for persistence, your fire for a meaningful, passionate life. Don't fear failure. Don't hesitate to begin. Every day is another chance to write a new letter, to start a new chapter, to become a stronger, wiser, truer version of yourself. Once again, thank you sincerely for walking this journey with me. I wish you steady steps on the path you've chosen, and I look forward to seeing you again in our next intellectual adventure. Until then, stay curious, stay courageous, and stay true.